It's a state I haven't hunted. Essentially, he gave you a map. The rest of it, it's up to you. There are some times during the rut when it's hard to find a mature deer. Big buck coming.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Thompson Center, America's master gun maker. Nikon, the trusted name in optics. She Outdoor Apparel, her adventure starts here. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Ghost Blind, not seeing is believing. And by Ram Outdoorsman. There are a lot of places to go in this big wide world, and the new Ram Outdoorsman can get you to every one of them.
Following Rich Sundberg after we're going to hunt, Rich is going to show us the property. I'm excited about coming to South Dakota primarily because it's a state I haven't hunted.
This is right where our property starts.
Okay.
Right here.
Right here?
We go all the way till this fence line comes to a T. It's probably about a half or a mile over. Cuts down to the river, and then it goes 5 miles that way. It's 4,000 acres total.
It's a river bottom type hunt, big cottonwood trees in some areas, dense woods, open hillsides. You're right during the rut. Lots of opportunities maybe to rattle, see bucks chasing the does. You got to be excited about a hunt like that.
This looks like a case of age and beauty on Winchester's World of Whitetail. South Dakota is the pheasant state, but the abundant variety of other game makes it one of the best hunting states east of the Rockies. And when it comes to whitetails, South Dakota produces some of the biggest record book bucks in the country.
The biggest reason we have so much game in this property is there are high agricultural hills above us. And this is a kind of a sweet little honey hole for them. They come in here to bed.
We have roughly 18 to 20 food plots throughout.
They have pockets where are never bothered. We have 3 or 4 different sanctuaries where we don't walk in, we don't let anybody hunt near. The deer are comfortable, they come down here and they stay here.
First afternoon they were here. We're just scouting this afternoon.
I knew Rich had it set up to where essentially he gave you a map and he says, okay, I got hunter here, hunter here, hunter here. The rest of it, it's up to you.
So we're set up right about here. Thinking seriously about using these hay bales in the morning to hide in and hide up on top of. Hopefully some of these deer, once they get any kind of pressure at all, will start drifting right in through here in kind of a natural funnel. Got a buck over here watching us right now. Looks like he is broken off on his left side a little bit. Pretty good deer though. Yeah, he's broken off. Broken off main beam right where his G3 would come off. Or G4. It's a shame because he's a good deer. Well, it's getting dark on us. Got a feeling with this cold that we got coming in tonight, stays like this tomorrow morning, we're going to see a fair amount of action.
Rich and I have known each other for many, many years. For years I served on staff as a whitetail deer columnist for North American Hunter, and Rich there was the publisher, so as a result of that we got to know each other fairly well over the years. They did get stuff sent in that I cared about more than anything else, so that's good. One of the things I always look forward to in a hunt is to experience a little bit different type of habitat. different types of terrain, but also to spend time with hunters, visiting about their beliefs about hunting that area, learning more about the whitetail rut, learning more about the whitetail deer in that area.
We've tried to create this property into a strong, well-managed property by incorporating food plots that have early season plots, late season plots. We really have an 8-point requirement that we really ask guys to stick to. We're seeing the fruits of that labor now. We're seeing lots of 150s, 160s, the occasional 170 and 180.
And this buck and doe are right here, only about 150 yards away. About a 2-year-old buck, maybe a 3-year-old at the most. Doe is bedded down about 25 yards to his right. He's not a shooter, but it's interesting to watch.
There are some times during the rut when it's hard to find a mature deer, simply because every mature deer out there is somewhere with a doe. The peak of the rut generally is that time frame as the does start coming into estrus, and that can be anywhere from late August to in February, even depending on where you are across North America.
I'd say the rut is going on.
It's starting to get a little bit later in the afternoon, and I decided to see what would happen if I'd rattle the horn. So I start rattling, and sure enough, here in the distance is a really nice young 10-point buck.
Damn, he's got a split brow, that's right. Maybe 140 if it's that much, 130. Good mass though, look at him.
When he came into rattling, I started messing with him.
He's coming this way.
It was one of those things to where he goes over, he makes a scrape, and I start grunting at him and rattling more. He makes another scrape. He walks over and he makes another scrape. And at one point I snort wheeze to him, and when I snort wheeze to him, that got his attention.
But it's great watching them like this. You can learn so much by watching them. He's coming around us, trying to circle, get our wind. That's what he's trying to do. I love messing with him. He's a good deer, but he's not what we're looking for. Trying to show us how tough he was. Decided he wasn't quite as tough as he thought he was.
The rut is on, and it has its own rewards and its own challenges as Mr. Whitetail rolls out his battery of big buck techniques in South Dakota on Winchester's World of Whitetail. Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by Buck Bomb, blows away traditional scents. Ghost Blind, not seeing is believing. Silver Zyme, the ultimate hybrid technology scent elimination spray, backed by science, doubted by no one. And by Otis, from the front lines to the hunt of a lifetime. Larry Weishuhn's hunting on his own in prime buck territory in southern South Dakota. And the rut is on this Winchester's World of Whitetail.
But I may pick a little chunk of it.
The area that we're hunting in South Dakota is right next to the White River. Now, for the most part, the whitetail deer populations are restricted very much to the drainages here. Yeah, they'll wander up into some of the hills, but the key in South Dakota is that river bottom, that corridor. That's where those animals live.
Got a major trail coming in right here. Probably to feed right in this little corner. See some scrapes in there. This is a good rub. This is what I like to see. Some scarring from last year, which tells me it may be the same buck. You like to rub on things that have a little bit of give to them. It is really frayed. It tells me the old buck's probably got some gnarliness to his antlers. There's a pretty high deer density in here, so I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of bucks on this field, particularly if the does start coming into it. And they probably will.
Without a guide, Weishuhn has to scout out the ranch on his own, so he puts in the time and the miles to find the right place to set up to rattle a buck.
We'll hang up right here for just a little bit and see what we can see.
Buck during the fall have a tendency to be, fairly vocal. They'll walk around going, take a few steps, and then you got the snort wheeze, which I have employed for many, many years. And basically all it is just a sound. And that's just kind of a challenge to that white-tailed deer. It's either he's going to stop, turn around, and come toward you to look to see what buck is challenging, or if he's just been whipped by another buck, he may just go, he might be gone. I have a tendency more to use my own natural voice than using commercial type calls. I've learned that deer just like you and me. Some of them have a deep voice, some of them have a high-pitched voice, and the biggest buck out there in the woods can have a very high-pitched voice.
I think we can pretty well cover everything. Grass weren't quite so tall. I'd set up in here, but the ground won't be able to see anything.
South Dakota has great whitetail habitat, but the food sources aren't uniformly distributed or abundant across it. Supplemental feeding can be a solution to that, but as Larry explains, it may take many forms. Brought to you by Ghost Blind. Not seeing is believing.
When it comes to whitetail deer in these river bottom type habitat, food is really kind of a limiting factor when you get right down to it. There are different types of little browse species here, little woody browses, but there are also a fair amount of weeds, if you will, a forb. There's no real one consistent food supply other than those. During the hard winter time, those deer they're in dire straits a lot of times. When it comes to supplementation, there are places, yes, where supplementation really does work, such as in South Texas. I assume that it would work up here in South Dakota, but I know it's against the law to do any baiting. In so many areas, baiting and supplemental feeding are synonymous, they're one and the same. The important thing that can be done to improve the habitat for these white-tailed deer in this part of South Dakota is simply just planting more agriculture and leaving it available to them. Harvest a portion of it for a commercial aspect, leave the rest of it out in the field for the animals to get through the hard times of winter.
For more information, log on to Versus.com. Larry appreciates the added challenge of hunting with a handgun, and he was excited to unveil Thompson Center's new Larry Weishuhn signature Encore Pro Hunter pistol at the SHOT Show. The 15-inch Encore comes with a Nikon scope and is ready to hunt out of the box.
We've got them available in all kinds of different calibers through TC, but this particular gun we're going to have in a 308 and a 460 S&W. Did you get it? All right.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. By golly.
Weishuhn's scouting put him in a likely place on the ranch. Now we'll see if South Texas rattling works on South Dakota's bucks on Winchester's World of Whitetail. Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Thompson Center, America's master gun maker. Nikon, the trusted name in optics. She Outdoor Apparel. Her adventure starts here. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Buck Bomb, blows away traditional scents. And by Ram Outdoorsman. There are a lot of places to go in this big wide world, and the new Ram Outdoorsman can get you to every one of them. Weishuhn's found that he can use South Texas rattling techniques to call up South Dakota bucks, but he knows that his toolkit needs more than rattling antlers. His Buck Bomb spray comes in a variety of scents. Besides doe in estrus, it can also replicate the scent of a young buck, which can both provoke an older deer to come in to investigate and help mask a hunter's own scent.
Rich has set this area up back here behind me as a sanctuary where he doesn't allow any hunting. If he did allow hunting in there, back here is where I'd want to set up for an afternoon hunt. A lot of times those old bucks will get about 50, 60, 100 yards back off the edge of a feeding area like this, and that's where they'll set up. And every doe that comes down these trails, they'll check. And if she's ready to be bred or just coming into estrus, he'll pick her up and take her back off in the brush to keep her from coming out here, because probably there'll be young bucks out here checking on these does. That old mature buck, he'll be back here in the back checking it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to hunt there. Third morning gets here and it's cold. Got that big field up there. River is right here. Got these trees coming up right in through here. It looks like it's kind of a natural funnel between really thick stuff over there, really thick stuff over here. These deer are used to cold weather. I mean, it was 16, 18 degrees every morning, but interestingly, I didn't see a whole lot of deer movement generally until about 8:30. Once it started warming up a little bit, that's when those deer started moving. Hadn't even really set up, and I watched it real nice, what looked like maybe a typical 10, typical 12 chasing the doe. Hit it across some thick stuff. My total idea was just to get around that thick stuff, get on the other side. This looks good. Got in that area hoping that that buck would come through that little funnel area. An open area right there. All the way almost back to the river. Got that blind right there. And a cattle feeder. Hadn't been used in a while. And I'd set up so I knew where the wind was blowing and I knew kind of where the deer might be coming from, but I also knew if I rattled up a buck, particularly a mature buck, that this buck would try to come in to come downwind of us. Got a breeze blowing in from this side. That deer, if I can rattle something out there, they'll probably try to come around. I think I get a shot right there, or a shot right there. Buck coming. Oh, daddy's mature deer. Hey, he's definitely coming this way. He's gonna try to catch my wind. Try to circle. He's coming right on the edge of this here. He is a mature deer. I mean, he's big old heavy neck, looked like he's at least 4 or 5 years old. He's moving. As soon as I took a few steps forward, I noticed this deer's head come up. Quickly, I raised the rifle. Last thing on earth I want to do is to have a deer suffer any length of time. Right there he is. See his antler. I think he's down. I can see this part of a rack sticking out, I mean, way up above the ground, and I can see 4 points on top and a brow tine. Pretty good mass. He's broken off. You know what buck that is? That's the buck we saw the first afternoon. We were doing some scouting. My God, probably a mile or 2 back that way. No doubt that's him. Talk about exciting, though. I kept rattling and occasionally grunting. All of a sudden looked kind of to the far right, and here comes this buck. He's coming at a fast trot. So he slows down just a little bit, and as soon as he hesitates just the slightest amount, he's Not a monster like some of the deer we've shot this year, but he is a good mature deer. He's got a big old neck on him. Absolutely gorgeous cape. Look at that. Deer's got to be 4 or 5 years old. In South Dakota, where I've never before hunted, and where I've never before rattled up a deer, other than a young one that rattled up the day before. What an absolutely great thrill to come into this part of the world and to rattle up a buck. That's one of the main reasons I took him, and the fact that he is a mature deer. And I'm just absolutely thrilled to death with him. The fact that he's got a broken antler just tells me he's had an extremely interesting life. Big old head on him. That is pretty.
All whitetail, all the time.
Take him out. Take him.
On Versus.com and Versus On Demand.